Had some wonderful fireside chats with Lauren Bush and her partner doing wonderful things on feeding the world. We've had Stan Prusner, who won the Nobel Prize, talking about Alzheimer's disease and others, and neurological damaging diseases. And tonight is really one of the highlights. We have two of the most wonderful people in the world talking about humor. We have had a two-day seminar. We're right in the middle of our two-day seminar on humor. Today, by all accounts and by everybody there, it was pretty special. We talked about the nature of humor, what makes humor, why some things are funny and not. And then we had a wonderful, wonderful session on the history of humor and what happened through the ages on that. And tonight we're just going to do a little actual humor. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do our second day of the seminar, and we're going to do the uses of humor, how it is important in politics and advertising and all this. And then, wait 1 minute, all right? And then, I know you're planning. Come on, sit down. Okay? And then we are doing on the uses of humor, and we're doing the creative process, how you become funny. And so everybody in our seminar is going to be a lot funnier than they've ever been. It's a money-back guarantee for all participants on that. But we are very, very grateful to have two very special individuals. Mike Peters, right here, is one of the... He's a local hero to us all. He has a house in Snowmass and in Florida. And Mike won the Pulitzer Prize for his editorial cartoons, and he does Mother Goose and Grimm. And he has been in some 800 papers syndicated around the country, and every week just clicks out these wonderful creative cartoons, and he'll show you some on that. Carol and I were lucky enough 2 years ago to go down to Florida and go to the National Cartoon Association annual meeting. And it really is a great, great event. You walk into the main ballroom on a Saturday night with a black tie. And let me just tell you, Mike Peters is a rock star in that. And we were very, very proud to be with him. And he was mobbed by the younger and even the older cartoonists there. So he's a real pioneer and a real celebrity in this.
You know, a dead rock star. You know, it's kind of a cute.
And so we will see. We will see in a minute. He's going to tell us his story on how he got into this field and a story of why he was born and other things. And then he's going to show us a few of his cartoons. And then afterwards is the person he was proposing to, who is Bob Mankoff. Bob Mankoff was a total failure in life before he got appointed as the cartoon editor of The New Yorker, which is a... which is really the pinnacle of anybody in cartoons, as you know. The New Yorker, started in 1925, is known for its wonderful articles and most of all for its cartoons. Bob he has been the cartoon editor there for the last 12 years. About 10 years or so ago, he had the idea in the middle of the night, why don't we have a caption contest in the back of the magazine? And it is now probably the most famous part of the magazine. Everybody turns to it first. And we have our own caption contest. Bob has brought us these two cartoons. And what we would love for you to do, participants in the seminar have been filling out these sheets and with the caption that would be best. And we would love you to fill out the sheets. Please put your name with the little Post-it stick-it when you come to your submission on that, and then
yeah. This is Aspen. That's totally wrong.
And then tomorrow, our two moderators are going to go and choose the winner, and then the winner will have an unbelievable prize. And it's unbelievable to us because we don't believe what it is yet. And but anyway. I leave it up to our two moderators to come up with the prize, as well as come up with the idea of the prize.
Okay.
So
what we're going to do, we're each going to draw a cartoon.
Okay.
We're going to sign it.
All right.
We're going to give it to the winners.
All right.
And if it becomes very much more valuable over time, we're going to want it back.
We'll want it back. That is great. That is great.
So
I
it's a
love that.
returnable cartoon.
Makes sense. Yeah, really.
The world's first returnable cartoon on something like that. So we're going to look at it, and these captions have been very, very clever. I don't know about you, but I can stare at this for about 2 hours and not come up with any caption. And members of our seminar come up with some very, very good ideas. Bob Mankoff, the last thing I would say about Bob Mankoff, besides the cartoon caption, is that he came up with probably the iconic cartoon. You're showing the cartoon. He came up with the iconic cartoon that I'm not going to show right now. But you will see in a few minutes, and he will discuss how he did. It's called a tickler.
You do that all the time.
I also came up with the iconic hairstyle that...
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first we're going to hear from Mike Peters and about his life, why he was born, and why he's here, and welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much. Yeah, go. Yes, yes. Well, first of all, this is absolutely a treat, and it's so fun having some of my best friends right here, and this is so cool. I love this. You know, I could do this all day. This is a hoot. I know you'll be bored, but it's fun for me doing it all day. I was trying to think of some things to say, maybe that some of my friends haven't heard, because they've heard me speak a bunch of times. This thing we're doing, Bob and I are doing, is on humor. Oh, I need your watch. I need your watch, because I have no concept of how much I'm talking. That's great. Okay, that's great. 5:07. This thing is on humor, and cartoonists basically, I mean, are funny people, or at least we think we're funny. That's how we sort of get into it. Many of us get into it because we're driving along, and all of a sudden something seems funny to us. Often it's not really funny, but to us it's funny, and it stays funny forever if we think it's originally funny. And I was going to tell you, so some of my failed attempts at being funny. But I grew up in St. Louis. Anybody here from St. Louis? Really? Get out of here. Hang on. You grew up in St. Louis? Oh, that's right. That's right. And you grew up in St. Louis? No kidding. Okay. You may not remember this, but my mom had a TV show in St. Louis for 25 years called The Charlotte Peters Show. Every noon. Oh, that's great. Well, so she had this show. You are so sweet, and I'll give you your... I know. I'll give you your $10 as soon as you leave. She had this fabulous show, and I grew up living with this woman. She sang and danced. She was crazy. I mean, and turned out, you know, she was crazy. But she had highs and lows, and we lived in that realm. And God love you, I love you. And she would have all the movie stars on, and whenever Martin and Lewis would come in town, or Bob Hope, boy, I would come down and skip school, and which I would do quite regularly, and nobody, didn't change my grade at all. It was always down here, But one of the people that she had on was a guy named Popeye, and Popeye was a guy from the Barnum and Bailey Circus, and his trick was. He could pop his eyes out of his head. And when he popped them out, they made a like that kind of noise. And so you got to understand, this is in the 1950s, and she would have like 250 women there. And they would be dressed in their little 1950 hats and little gauze, and they wore gloves. I mean, it was that little white gloves, and they would sit there, and then she would do funny things, and they would laugh, and she was outrageous and all that. So she said to Popeye, she said, now could you do this for my ladies? He said, oh yes, of course. And so she said to the cameraman, okay, bring the camera up to Popeye's head. And she had teleprompters all around the room so the women could see, Popeye. So they came real close, and he said, now, do you want me to do one at a time or both? And she says, anything. He said, well, I'll do one at a time. And he would hold his breath and, you know, pop his, I can't do it without water, pop like this, his eye out. And all the women would go, oh, God, oh, like this. And the camera was real big, and you could see. Now, they didn't hang down. They weren't like this. But they popped, you know, 3/4, 9/8, you know, like that, pop out of their heads. And then when he brought it back in, it made a sucking noise, you know. So it was pop and then suck. And then he started going pop, suck, like this. And then her accordionist, I mean, not accordion, you know, a Wurlitzer, he would start playing. He started playing Yankee Doodle, and this guy's going pop, suck, like this. And the women are screaming, and her eyes are real big, and you see all the bloodshot all around, and he's going na 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 like this. So when they get done, and the women's hats are cockeyed, and they're all, and she said, my mom said, is it the only place, you know, is the circus the only place that you guys, that you do your trick? He said, no. The best time to do my trick is when I go to a restaurant and they bring me the bill and I go pop like this. And he said, I've had 2 waitresses fall to the ground. I mean, it's so, you go pop like this. No, it's great. So my mom was crazy. So I grew up in St. Louis. But, okay, so one of the things that a joy for us cartoonists, now not Bob necessarily, because Bob goes into the office.
I have no joy. Mike has taken all the joy that exists in the world. Mike has. Mike is a joy whore.
So Bob works in the office, but I'm able to go home, and I'm able to work at home. So I did that starting when I started the comic strip, and I used to work at the office, Dayton Daily News, for my editorial cartoons, and then after I started my comic strip, I went home and started working. The crazy thing about working when you're not with a bunch of people, when you're just by yourself, is you get sort of bored, and then you try to find fun things about your life that you can play with and stuff. And this one day, I had my daughter, my middle daughter, Tracy. She was real small, and she was upstairs. It was a Saturday, and she was upstairs, and she had a sleepover. All of her girlfriends were up there. My editor had just had me buy a thing called Champion Juicer. Everybody was on. It was in the 70s. Or late 70s, and he bought and he said, buy this Champion Juicer. It is a huge. It's bigger than this, and it's almost like an outboard motor, and you go like this, and you put in the fruit and stuff down here, and this huge grinder just grinds it up, and then spits out the pulp here. And you could put anything, you know, you could put fruit, vegetables, Venetian blinds, your shoe, and it would get juice. It would get juice out of the bottom because this thing was so strong. And this one Saturday, I was doing this stuff, and the pulp that came out of this out of the machine plopped down, and it was brown. We had put plums and all that, and it plopped down, and it was brown and looked very organic, and it made a little like Dairy Queen top. Now my daughter was right upstairs with all of her friends, and she had just gotten a cat, this cat, and I said to her, okay, look, if you get this cat, you got to clean up after her because I'm at home all the time. Don't do this to me. Don't get a free cat and then have me clean. I go, I promise, Dad, I'll clean up. So I see this pile, this slimy, wet pile with the dark brown Dairy Queen point. So I slip a piece of paper under it, and I go over to the steps leading upstairs. And I put it down, and I take the paper away. And then I said, Tracy, God bless it, get down here, get down here. And Tracy and all of her friends, like this, come down to the edge of the railing overlooking the bedroom, overlooking the living room. And I said, Tracy, do you remember when I told you about if you got a cat, you have to clean up? Yeah, I know. I said, well, look at that. All the kids went, oh, gross, you know, and stuff. And Tracy said, no, usually Fluffy does little round things. I said, no, that's Fluffy stuff. And then I picked it up and I smelled it. I said, yeah, that's Fluffy. And the kids are going, oh, gross. And it's kind of dripping down through my fingers. I said, wait a minute. Well, I'll really check. And I go, and one of the kids got so upset, she did this projectile barf across my living room. We had this blue velvet sofa, and they had been eating, Fruities or whatever, multicolored, and it stained it. We could never get the thing out. You know, so I learned you can't do too much. I mean, you have to be a little bit of thing. One time, I was with my friends, and you guys have never heard this. I was with my friends, and we were going down to the Virgin Islands, and oh gosh, it was a big thing. We were renting a boat, and it was going to be fabulous. I mean, it was a big trip. We're in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Ohio is gray. Dayton, Ohio is just gray and drizzle. If there was a sport for a gray drizzle, I mean, Dayton, Ohio would be it. It would be like the Indy 500. So we finally, we're going to the airport. We had packed up all this meat to take with us on the boat. We were going to have a captain and a cook, and 2 couples and all the food we want, and we're going to be in the Virgin Islands, and for a week or 10 days or something. And so I'm packing up the thing right at the airport, making it so it's real flat and stuff. And I find this little the dry ice, and I said, wait a minute, this could be kind of fun, because I'll wrap up and keep some dry ice in my pocket, and then I can use it somehow, maybe somehow. So we did this, and we put the thing through the stuff, and we get on the plane, and everything's fine. We're sitting there, and my friends are so excited, and they're sitting right behind us. And I said, isn't this wonderful? They can't believe it, because it's a huge thing. Dayton, Ohio is not this. It's truly gray, flat thing, cold. And so we're sitting there, and they finally served the coffee. And I said, oh, God, this is great. Because I thought I would put the dry ice in the coffee, and then it does like this thing, like dry ice does, falls down. And then I'd say, oh, miss, my coffee's too hot. And then everybody would laugh, and my friends would laugh. But I didn't realize that we were at 30,000 feet, okay? And so the lady brought the coffee. I said, thank you. Passed it on. And then nobody's looking, I took out the dry ice. I put it in. I think he was going to go like this. And I said, oh, miss, my the dry ice goes like this. I think it's Mount St. Helen. It's going like this up. And people are screaming. And the lady comes with, what is that? Dry ice. And then the two pilots came running down. What is that? I said, it's dry ice, and people have gotten up and moved away from me. And so then he said, oh, God damn it, go. And I took it up to the front. And then I turned around to my friends, and they wouldn't look at me for the rest of the trip. They didn't want anybody to know that they were with me, It was one of those sad kind of things. My last thing, I have 2 more things. I'll make it real quick. Okay, hang on. I'm getting wound up. Marion wants me to breathe. My one daughter, Molly, was, and I'll end with this because 5:20. Okay. My one daughter, Molly, was doing we were living in a cul-de-sac in Dayton, in Beaver Creek, and my daughter, Molly, was this wonderful. She was real sweet, our youngest kid, and oh, God, everybody goes, oh, like that, And so, and they still, oh, Molly, she's, she's got a big hump on her. No, I'm joking. But she was in this little thing, and she's playing piano, going to the same piano player that all the kids in the neighborhood was going to, and so. And I would take her to the piano lady, a teacher, all the time, and all the rest of the neighbor kids would go. So Marion says to me, okay, Marion's my wife. Marion said, okay, now be sure you come to her recital. She's having a recital on Friday, at 1 o'clock. I said, honey, I can't do that. I got 2 cartoons to do on Friday. You know, I'm down at the office. She said, you're the father. You've got to be there. This is her first recital. She's a little bitty kid. You have to do there. And I said, okay, fine. I mean, I wasn't the best of fathers, but if Marion yelled at me, I was not bad. And and it was at a church. It was at an Episcopalian church, and I'm Catholic, but we knew where the Episcopalian church was. So I drove to the Episcopalian church, made it there in time, and I'm sitting there, and I see all my neighbors were all there, and they're all sitting there, and they're all having, they're all there for their kids, and I'm sitting there, and I see all my friends. I see and the kids are playing and, stuff. So one of my friends is a guy that I would play poker with once a month, and his name was Richard, and everybody worked at the air base. But this guy, whenever I saw him, he was the grossest guy. I mean, every other word was F. And he cursed like a sailor, and he was a Marine. But he did stuff like the farmer blow and stuff. I mean, he was just, gross. But he was there in his suit because it came right from the air base. And so, and I said, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen him dressed up because he was always in cruddy clothes and cursing and all that. So after everything gets done, and my daughter was great, and we all applauded, everybody got up to go into the other room to have cookies and Kool-Aid. And so I get my cookies and Kool-Aid, and everybody's doing stuff, and I'm standing back, and I'm just kind of looking at everybody, and I'm a little bored because nobody is talking about me. They're all just talking about these goddamn kids playing the piano, and nobody's saying, God, Mike, you are so great, stuff. So I'm eating my cookie and drinking my Kool-Aid and stuff, and Marion is out flitting around, as she always does. And I look over, and I see my buddy's the blue suit. And I said, oh, this will be great. And we're just against the wall, both of us. And so I eat my cookie, and I'm drinking my Kool-Aid, and I inch myself very slowly over right next to my buddy, who's real gross, does that farmer blow. And then while we're standing there, I lean over, and I grab his, package, and I squeeze it, and he was a Marine, so I said, I squeezed it, and I said, hi, sailor, new in town, thinking that he's going to hit me. And he doesn't do anything. And I think maybe, maybe he's a Marine, and they're supposed to have leather things, And so I grabbed it harder, and I squeezed it harder, and I said it louder. Hi there, sailor, new in town. And I looked up, and it's the Episcopalian priest and he's looking at me like this. And I said, I started fumbling. I said, I thought you were a Marine. Right, I should have. And then I went over to Mary and I said, I'll meet you out in the car. She said, why? I said, I'll tell you later. So that's the story of my life. Okay, I'll show you some of my favorite cartoons. And then this will be for Bob. Okay, now I need to turn this on. This is good. All right, what I'm going to do is very quickly go through some editorial cartoons. This is the last cartoon, the first cartoon I did of Jimmy Carter. If you remember, old enough to remember Jimmy Carter. But it was one of the cartoons I did it in like 20 minutes because I didn't think he was going to win, and then he won, and I had to do this cartoon in about 20 minutes. It was the most reproduced cartoon I had done up to that time, and it was just the smiling White House. You may have to focus. You may have to focus it, Bill. Thank you, sweet boy. Okay, now this next cartoon, I'm gonna go through this real fast because we got a lot of things to do. Oh, thank you, sweet, wonderful person. Okay, that's great. This next cartoon is just the charisma the charisma of Fred Thompson, and you've got, happy, electrifying, gleeful, joyous, dashing, and I love, ecstatic. I love that. I love that. Okay, this was during when Bush was president, and do you remember how Abdullah would come and visit him on his farm and stuff, and they would be making goo-goo eyes at each other, and so I had and so I think and so I had him there holding hands, and one of the wives was saying, I remember when Prince Abdullah used to look at me like that, Okay, now this I just did. Now, interesting thing about this, I had done this cartoon, not long ago. Krugman wrote an article starting off with this cartoon and said, Mike Peters did this cartoon. And I thought it was pretty good, but then I really thought it was good when Krugman, it's just got a teacher there, and she says, use the verb sacks as in looting and pillaging in a sentence. And he says, golden sacks. Isn't that cute? That's a cute idea. I didn't think it was that cute until Krugman used it, and I said, "No, this is cute." I mean, this guy has thing. This I did this last year, and I thought it was very appropriate. And it said, the little granddaughter is saying, "Grandpa, could you teach my puppy a trick?" And he says, "Sure. Speak." And so we were talking about, that thing. Yeah. Okay. This is fun. I'm a big Disney file, and I love using Disney cartoons in both my comic strip and my editorial cartoons. When Michael Eisner got voted off the board from Disney, it was because he was making all these, Herbie the Volkswagen car number 12 and stuff, and so he got voted off the board. It was a big shock, and so I had Eisner in bed, and it says "Morning at Michael Eisner's," and then there's and then there's from the board, Oh gosh. Okay. Now this next cartoon is an old cartoon. One of the great things about California, they have celebrity sperm banks. And if you're a movie star, if you're a TV star, if you're a Nobel Prize winner, if you're a Pulitzer Prize winner, you can make a deposit, and you can make a deposit into this sperm bank. And then women who want to have children by these, these austere.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm not, I don't know. And so I have a lady coming back the second time to the sperm bank. And the guy's saying, look, lady, you're the one who asked for a famous movie star with dark hair, strong nose, and deep-set eyes, Now, this one I did really a couple of months ago, and it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's Tiger Woods, and his thing says, and the shirt says, just did it, instead of just did it. This was last year, I think, and you remember when Prince Harry was caught having his picture taken, and he was at a Halloween thing, and he was dressed as a Nazi, and so I had him coming, and there's Prince Charles and Camilla, and they're standing there, and Prince Charles is saying to Harry, how could you walk around with that horrible thing on your arm? He says, I was going to ask you the same thing. I know, it's horrible. But that's what cartoonists can do, Cartoonists can do that and kind of make it work, and they actually pay us money to be doing this stuff. Okay, now I'm going to very quickly, I'm going to show you just a bunch of strips. The strips are called Mother Goose and Grimm, and they're just for laughs, and I enjoy doing them and stuff. It's got King Kong on top of the Empire State Building, and he says, listen how funny my voice sounds when I breathe helium. And then there's Mr. Peanut, and he says, and he's in the psychiatrist's office, and he says, sometimes I feel like a nut, sometimes I don't, And then there is young Heimlich's first maneuver, and you know. And let me see. I told you I like doing Mickey Mouse and stuff. So I have Mickey Mouse in a bar with a real pretty lady. And Minnie comes in, and he says, hi, Minnie. I thought you were out of town. And it says, when Mickey first learned, it's a small world after all. And this was just last week. I thought it was kind of cute. He said, the one pirate says, well, you got to admire his tenacity, you know. Now, this is one of my favorite Disney things, and I loved it. I've got all Disney princesses, okay? You've got, hang on, who is that? Who's in Beauty and the Beast? You know. Belle, and, hang on, Cinderella, and Snow White, and the mermaid, the Little Mermaid, and then Sleeping Beauty. And so they're all there, and it's my husband is an animal. Mine drives a pumpkin. My husband leaves me at home with 7 little ones. Mine wants me to wear fishnet stockings, and I just pretend I'm asleep. And the caption is Disney's Desperate Housewives, you know. Okay, this was just last week. I mean, I think. And it's an elevator operator. He says, darling, I think it's time we take this to another level, you know. And then this was sad. I love this, but nobody understood it. But I thought it was great. But I don't care. It's got a little chicken on this, and it says, all Chinese officers have died. Someone must lead the troops, and it's General To's chicken. You know, I never understood where the name got from. Okay, this gets down to. The cow moons over the jump, you know. And then here's the mother dog saying to the little boy, Junior, where's your manners? Now go over and smell the Henderson's butts. Okay, you have the Tin Man getting on a plane, and the guy says, okay, now try it again. You have a bunch of a bunch of polar bears, and they're saying, hey, come on, everybody, Eskimo pies. Then you have the only joke skunks know, and he goes, go on, you know, pull my finger. And then my favorite editorial cartoon that I've done in my career, it's just Bill Clinton, and he's saying, I'm Rasputin. Thank you very much. You guys are great.
All right, let's hear it for Mike Peters. That was wonderful. We're gonna have a few minutes at the end to have some questions. If anybody can make any questions from something that he just gave like that. But ladies and gentlemen, now over to Bob Mankoff.
Not so quick over to Bob Mankoff. Well, that is an act you do not want to follow. I'll tell you a little bit about humor. That's not it. All he needed was a dog and a chicken. So the first thing I have to do is I really have to, you know, establish, you know, what we know about humor, my social relationship with you guys, how much I like you, and, you know, what comedians do is they have to establish, like you said, you know, St. Louis, how many of you guys from Earth? Whoa, that's unbelievable. You know, that's fantastic. And I am so happy. And when Ken said, Ken works us like dogs. I mean, like dogs. We did 2 sessions. And then Ken says to me, oh, yeah, and do 45 minutes of stand-up. What? 45 minutes of stand-up? You know, guys work, they have 10 minutes. You know, stand up. So I was thinking, well, what can I do? And, you know, one of the things people do is they say, I'm happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to thank each and every one of you. And Dad, thank you. You know, thank you, really. Thank you. No, thank you. Because honestly, it's a long time. And you know, one of the ways to do it is you could speak slow, but I'm from New York. There is no way I'm speaking slow. Well, so I'm going to try to do a little thing, you know, sort of a little bit of who I am and how I became a cartoonist, you know, and all you know, all that stuff. And I had a crazy mother, but I'll forget about it. So anyway, it's a little bit hard to see because it's dark here. So you know, I'm in Aspen, and I realized, you know, what do I do? And so I'm the cartoon editor of the New Yorker magazine. That means I see 1,000 cartoons a week, and I'm the ones who sort of goes with David Remnick and we pick the 30 that go in. Then I'm actually a cartoonist for the magazine. I do cartoons. And I pick them, and then I created the Cartoon Bank, which licenses all the cartoons. Is there a lawyer here? Anybody a lawyer? Anybody who took a course in ethics? Ethics, conflict of interest? No, that wouldn't be a good lawyer. You know, conflict of, I mean, is there a conflict of interest? I'm drawing the cartoons, I'm selecting the cartoons, I'm licensing the cartoons. I mean, if it was a Republican administration, I could understand it. But you know what I mean. I could. So anyway, I do take it seriously. I do. You know, and so I said, well, what can I do? Because people ask this question. You know, annoying people ask this question. So I've established. You know, what do you do? What do you do, Ken? You establish a committee, a blue ribbon committee, to investigate this. These things take time.
Of course.
You don't want to rush to judgment.
It's not easy.
No, absolutely. And anyway, I think I'm going to be cleared of all charges because I'm heading that committee. Anyway, so that's what I do. It's a little bit hard to see. Here's me looking at all the cartoons. And the thing I do, and there's a few slides that the people, you know, who were at the early sessions saw. And remember at the sessions when you said how much you enjoyed laughing again at the things that you love? Yes. Remember that. Remember that. Laugh harder. You said you laughed harder when you keep seeing Fraser. So now you've seen Mankoff. Laugh harder. Anyway, I reject. And the thing that happens all the time is that wherever you go, people say, I have an idea for a cartoon. All the time. Okay. So this is my little drawing of, because I was at my cardiologist. You're linked up. You got an arrhythmia. You know, you're in your underpants or whatever. And he says, hey, I've got an idea for a cartoon. I said, great, I've got an idea for a biped. It was a very successful procedure. Okay, you can't really see this, but okay, this is me. In the middle is David Remnick, and that actually at the time was the managing editor. Because when I finally go, now I just go with David Remnick, because sometimes it was, they wanted another person in there. So, you know, we're looking at the cartoons. I've selected 1,000, and now, you know, we need smart people now to select, so that nothing goes wrong and stuff. But the great thing is we are not alone, because in the back of the room, ghosts are William Shawn and Harold Ross. There they are. You know, Harold Ross, who has there, and they make ghost sounds. Ooh, ooh. They want to prevent us from picking the wrong cartoon. And they do a good job. And so we got to watch out, because this is the New Yorker. You know, we can't do the butt smelling that. We really can't do that. So if a cartoon comes up, you know, we can't be that funny.
Now that's too funny.
We've got a reputation to uphold. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, and then let's say a cartoon like this comes up, you know, with the ventriloquist and the dummy is throwing up. We can't publish that. Danger.
Danger.
And you can't hear, we don't have the audio, but like a fire alarm goes off too. Woo, woo, woo. You know, it prevents us. You know, or what about this? Home of the bottomless cup of coffee. This is the New Yorker. That's not getting in the New Yorker.
That is fabulous.
You're not getting danger.
Danger.
All right, that goes there. Okay, and then it's, I just don't reject impersonally. I reject personally. We have cartoonists, young people come in, they want to be cartoonists for the New Yorker magazine, and we reject them. And people say, and I take offense at this, that we don't have enough women cartoonists. That's not true. That's not true. We have plenty of women cartoonists. And we reject them. That's the whole thing. The whole thing is about rejection. That's the thing called. Okay, now, people say, I have the greatest job in the world. We got the sound going and everything. Okay, but, all this rejection takes a toll. And I made a little video. I want a video so do you have a little sympathy for me? No. Ooh. Too funny. Normally I would, but I'm in a pissy mood. I'm going on my own, perhaps. Overdrawn, underdrawn, drawn just right, still not funny enough. No. Definitely not. No way. No. For God's sakes, no. 1,000 times. No. Hey, that's good. Yeah, what you got there?
Got a ham and Swiss on rack.
No. Okay,
Pastrami and sourdough.
No.
Smoked turkey with bacon.
No.
Falafel.
Let me look at it. No. No. Definitely no. Okay, so it's not all peaches and cream. You know what I mean? But how I became a cartoonist. I was in graduate school in the 1970s. I was an experimental psychologist. I dealt with pigeons and rats. Okay, and I was very creative. Because what you did, I don't know if you ever took a course in experimental psychology, you had pigeons who pecked on a little disc, and it was like Skinner box, reinforcement schedules, and that's what we did. But it took a long time. You had to put the pigeon in the box, and for an hour a day he'd peck, and there'd be a little record of his pecking and stuff like that. After an hour a day, it would take you a whole year. I'm an undocumented PhD.
Really? Wow.
I have all the credits. I'm undocumented. That's the thing that I lack. Until the internet came along, and now I got them. And I'm also a preacher now. It's great. But so my idea was, it's taken too long, because I read up on the pigeons. They don't sleep, okay, and they don't have a union. An hour a day, and they're sitting on their ass 23 hours? That's ridiculous. Let me get out of here quickly. So it was in the 70s, and I was on things up late at night. So I decided to run the pigeon 24 hours a day, but feed him enough so that he would maintain his weight, and instead of a year, it would only take me a month. Being on drugs, you'll get ideas like this. Brilliant ideas and stuff. And the pigeon was pecking constantly, and I'd be looking in on him, and he'd be pecking, and I'd be looking in on him, and I'd be pecking, and then I looked in on him, and then he was dead. So my pigeon died. He didn't die right away. I took him out because I saw he wasn't maintaining his body weight. He wasn't anorexic. He wasn't getting enough food. He was only a third of his body weight. So when I took him out, normally they can fly, but he could float. And so I nursed him back to health, and then he died. And then let's put it this way, it didn't work out. and I've done this cartoon, and also the rats, you know, this is my reaction to the rats. But seriously, you can't miss it. Just take a right and then 2 lefts. But, you know, they didn't share my sense of humor. You know, they didn't, you know, understand. So then I said, that's it. I'm not going to be a psychologist. And my parents were proud because I just had ologist on any part of my name, you know, and they had grown up in the Depression. So I went to my mother, and she fainted. You know, because they said, you know, I'm not going to be a psychologist, I'm going to be a cartoonist. Now, I should have said cartoonologist. She would have gone for that. And then my father was a very reasonable guy, and he looked at it and he said, you know, they already have people who do that. I said, yeah, but one of them might die. And so I embarked on my campaign, and this is the stuff I showed. So this is me, actually, in 1976, The New Yorker, we regret, we regret, you know, 2,000 cartoons. I papered like a lot of people, you know, your whole thing, you know what I mean? Your whole bathroom with all the rejection things, hating The New Yorker. And I was getting published elsewhere. Like this was one of the first cartoons I did that got published in Saturday Review. Oh, no. They were not amused yet. Look at this, this is from Saturday Review, 1974. Please tell the king I've remembered the punchline. And look at that crazy technique there. These are all dots. This is, you know, look at that. It would take me 8 and 9 hours and stuff to do it. But you know, reject. You know, as I said, and then this we regret. But finally, I sold the cartoon to the New Yorker, and this is that joke. And okay, and this changed to this. Which, you know, that's not true. The New Yorker did not write that, as I said. But that's what I was screaming, you know. And actually what I felt then was, I can quit. I proved my parents wrong.
Oh, my God.
I mean, because I had done 2,000. I mean, this must be the same thing. How am I going to make a living at this? You know, fortunately, I was robbing convenience stores at the time just to make ends meet. Here are some of the cartoons I've done. As a matter of fact, you did catch us at a bad time. You know, I deal with the cartoon. I mean, all cartoons are about conflict. Mine, for the most part, are not editorial cartoons, but about the conflict and the annoyances in life, or facade or phoniness. My mother, who was a totally hysterical, crazy woman, things could be going totally mad in the house and everything. And if the phone rang, she said, hello. You know what I mean? you know that's how it was. So I deal a lot, you know, with the relationships and stuff you had. You know, this is a woman saying, "I'm sorry, dear, I wasn't listening. Could you repeat what you said since we've been married?" Because you know that's how it is. You know that's how it is. And so I'm dealing relationships and with, and of course with part of relationships are sexual relationships. Why, you're right. Tonight isn't reading night. Tonight is sex night. And you know, you're in the middle class, you know, there's stuff like that. I think I did this political cartoon because really, if you're at a certain age, you know, you're not really interested that much in about same-sex marriage. You're interested in, by the way, what's your position on some-sex marriage?
Oh, that's great.
So, you know, you think about that, and you know, and if things don't work out, there are lots of things to help us now. Now that's product placement.
That's great. Oh, gosh.
But, you know, marriage, sex leads to children. We don't believe in pressuring the children. When the time is right, they'll choose the appropriate gender. Because, you know, it's a little bit of a different world than it was in terms of the kids that you are raising.
Oh, gosh.
You know, they can't see you right now. Would you like a bottle while you're waiting? It's Mom and Dad. Because my wife and I both work. And, you know, you're wondering, you know, are you doing that? But you both work, and, you know, the truth is, for kids now, much more important than love, you need money. And money involves work, and work, of course, involves annoying people. And that's this cartoon I did. No Thursdays out. How about never? Is never good for you.
Oh, man, that is great.
So that's the cartoon. You really, because you're working with people who annoy you, and you're trying to make money, but you're dealing, of course, with incompetent people, which were saying, $1 billion is 1,000 million. Why wasn't I informed of this? I mean, that's my take on the economy completely. Everywhere, it's all so complicated. They're all the derivatives, and you know, and numbers, and there's even long division involved in some of this, and you know, who could really understand all of it? It's impossible. And you know, it's not me. I should have been informed. Like BP should have been informed. Really, oil comes out of the ground. And of course, there's Wall Street. Bad news on Wall Street today is the bottom fell out of the market, the sides collapsed, and the top blew away. You know, so, and all of this, of course, is producing anxiety, things that we worry about. And, you know, and so this is my position. True, a salary cap on Wall Street may limit the talent pool, but on the other hand, if they get any more talented, we'll be broke. Because that was actually the case they were making. The talent pool. This is like a team that lost 162 games straight and wants to maintain the talent pool. They should be looking to the untalent pool. So it gets you nervous. And while there's no reason yet to panic, I think it's only prudent we make preparations to panic. And I'm constantly being proactive in my panic. You know what I mean? We want to make preparations there, but anxiety, you know, builds up on us, and we might need medical help. We might, from the authorities, from important people, doctors who know what they're doing. And this is my view. It's called 3 out of 4 doctors. You know, because you can't trust these people. You don't know that, and you know. But then you might go, you know, beyond that. You might need, you know, coverage, or your coverage doesn't seem to include illness. You know, and that's the truth whenever you're dealing with these people. You know, okay, so you're done with that. You know, maybe there's nothing wrong with you, because I went to my doctor. You know, he said, you know, you're not a hypochondriac. You only think you're a hypochondriac. But I didn't take his word for it, because I wanted to go and find out. I wanted the right type of help, the authorities. And wow, you need professional help. I thought, you find out there's a lot of facades here. People aren't what they say. You know, and then if you do get professional help, sometimes it's hard to understand what they're telling you. Okay, what part of malignant regression and pathogenic retroinjection as a defense against psychic decompensation don't you understand? Well, every part. I don't understand any of it. You know what I mean? And you know, you look for change, but change is not always what you want.
Oh, that's great.
But fortunately, it always happens to this guy.
Yeah.
And little point is all is, it really makes you, well, that's my point. Thank you.
Oh, you are so good. God, you are amazing.
That was great. Well, you were a hard guy to follow.
That was
Oh, man.
that was wonderful, Bob.
Oh, my
I'll go
gosh.
up here.
That was great. Go on, right up there. All right, questions. Yep. I will go around. Yep.
Let me ask Mike, what does I know your wife is kind of in politics.
Yes.
And what does she think about some of your political cartoons that are kind of antithesis to what her...
Right. She that happens a number of times, and she says, "I know nothing," and she leaves the room. You know, she gets very close to the subject, and if I'm hitting the subject that she loves, she goes, "Are you sure that's funny? I don't think that's funny." So we can't talk because I think it's funny, and so, but you know, cartoonist wives, especially political cartoonist wives, always have that. It's always that friction, always that thing. You know, do you have things with?
Well, it's really, if you do any cartoon, like relationships, sex cartoon, you know, the wife's mother calls up and says, "Is everything all right?"
Yes, no, yeah, no, it blows over because I don't do anything. I don't do any pro-Hitler cartoons or anything like that, so it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Other question? Yep. I'll get right over there. I'm gonna do an Oprah thing here.
Yeah, that's very good. You're doing a good Oprah.
Thank you.
I want to hear about art school and your drawing training, and were you drawing rats back
I was
then?
trained at the Sorbonne. We went out, and there were models of desert islands, plaster models. And we would have to draw for 2 or 3 years the model of the palm tree until we got it right. Actually, I went to the High School of Music and Art, which was sort of the school that was in fame in that old movie and stuff like that with performing arts and everything. And I always liked to draw and stuff, but honestly, once you went there, I mean, these were people who drew like Michelangelo, could draw any position, and everything. And I really, I found a way to express my ideas, and I grew in class and everything. And this is probably what, the thing that you had. And the teacher would say, as they always do, Robert, if you think it's so funny, perhaps you'd like to share it with the rest of the class. And then you would say, I sure would. I mean, I think this is the thing. And I mean, I told this anecdote at dinner, but I think it's worth retelling, is that humor is a powerful force. It's a powerful force when you're young and everything isn't going right for you. It's not this glide path where you're an A student and everything and you're acing everything. But it's this thing that you can do. It's this thing that you can shift around the hierarchy. So this is what I told her last night, my moment like that. So I started doing that. I started being a wise guy and stuff and things like that. And this was in Syracuse. I told this thing where I hadn't gone to the sociology exam the whole year because I went the first day. And then I come in the last day. And this is like, 1966 and stuff. Long hair. Weird. Even weirder than I look now. but I mean, really weird. Crazy shorts and stuff. Late to the final exam. There's literally like mad in the blue books, all the drones. All the people who are absolutely, they've got to get their grades and stuff. And, I've stayed up all night on drugs and I'm just desperately hoping, to see this, just skate by, whatever. And as I said, and the professor comes up to me, and he says, who the hell are you? Because I haven't been there all year. And I said, well, I could very well ask you the same question. So I'm just saying in that, and I teach a course now at the University of Michigan, and it's really so paradoxical actually teaching at a wonderful university. I've been so a lousy student. But the thing I do tell them is that everybody doesn't have to take the same path. Everybody doesn't have to, I scored well on the law boards, therefore I have to be a lawyer. I said, what I say to them in general is, the office will always be there. But if you want to do something else, you better use your youth to do it, because that's when you travel light, and that's when you should roll the dice for talent. And I'm being serious here. That's when you should do it. And I encourage as I was saying before, and I'm lousy when at these. The days when you talk to your kids' class, because I say, anybody, talk at school, I say, anybody who wants to be a cartoonist can quit school right now.
And the teacher must have loved that.
Not particularly. Anyway.
Mike, how did you get to do the drawing?
I had gone, I had gone through grade school, and I was a cartoonist. I mean, in my head, I was a cartoonist, and gone through high school, and in my head I was a cartoonist, and I can tell that story, but I want to tell another story. And then I went to, but I was failing all the way through school. I was just drawing cartoons. That's all I was doing. And and then I go to college, but every single year from freshman year in high school, I was taking summer school. Summer school is great for people who get bad grades, because you show up at summer school, they give you a C. I mean, you're just alive, you're there. Like Woody Allen says, show up and you'll pass. Just because you take the time to go. And my mother had enough money. Oh yeah, you go. And so I took summer school all those years, all through high school, and then through college. and I was flunking art. I was in art school, and I was flunking. I was trying to do shoes, like, you know, and do that. So I was with a fraternity, a Sigma Chi. I was Sigma Chi, and I was dating the dean of students' daughter, my wife Marion, and the dean of students' daughter. I mean, the dean of students did not like me. First of all, I was the too big thing. I was a cartoonist Catholic, a big thing he didn't like, and he had, because he was the dean of students, he had all these guys for years lining up, bringing them to the house to introduce them to his daughter, you know, engineers and big-time guys. You know, big men on campus, guys, Senate president and all that kind of stuff. And so we're dating, and he sees my grades. I mean, you can see all my grades, and he's not going to be around. I mean, it's okay. This is going to work. So I come in my junior year, beginning of my junior year, I come into the art school. This man named Dean McKay, who I've been trying to call to see if he's still alive because I wanted to tell him how much he meant to me. He said to me, I see on your records that you've been going to summer school. I said, oh, yeah, you know, that's what I do, you know. And he said, well, here at Washington U, after the beginning of the junior year, you have to pass all your things to be able to stay here. And if you don't, you can't stay here. Well, that was like him saying, you know, you've got to walk around naked and ride a unicycle, and that's the only way. I mean, I couldn't believe that I couldn't take summer school. That's how I made it all those years. So I went to my professor, a man named Mr. Burnell, who I had had the year before, and I said, Mr. Burnell, what am I going to do? I just talked to Dean McKay, and he said, I can't take summer school. And you know the grades I get. He said, yeah, I know. And I said, what should I do? And he was very, very thoughtful, and he was thoughtful about anything. Like, what time is it? You know, and then look at his watch. And so he was very thoughtful. And he said, you like cartoons? I said, you know, I'm a cartoonist. And he said, well, then why don't you do this? He said, draw cartoons in all your classes. I said, what do you mean? He said, when you go to figure drawing class, make the figures, exaggerate them, make them into cartooning, make them into cartoons. When you go to painting class, paint cartoons. When you go to design class, design cartoons. I said, well, I mean, won't they get mad? He said, Mike, you're already flunking. It's okay. It's okay. You can't do any worse. I mean, this is the best idea I can give you. So all my classes, I just started drawing cartoons. Now, everybody else was drawing shoes and stuff, and I was doing cartoons and stuff, and nobody came by and hit me. You know, art school, a guy walks around you, and then, no, you know, but nobody hit me. I can tell you the day. I mean, it was the day Marion was at, I was on social probation at my fraternity. I couldn't take my girlfriend, to a party at Sigma Chi because I was on social probation. My grades were too low. And so she was at she was somewhere with some girlfriends, and it was a Saturday, and I opened up my report card, and I got all A's and B's. I got all A's and B's. And I called her up, and I said, Marion, I got to stay. And that was the beginning of my life. I mean, that was the beginning. I realized I was going to be a cartoonist. Isn't that a hoot? Isn't that a hoot?
Isn't that interesting also because, you know, I actually teach out now at the University of Michigan School of Art and Design. And it's fantastic, and the people have all this talent and everything. And I went around to all the drawings of shoes, yes. You know, ulna, you know, the anatomy, and everything. And I said to the guy, isn't there any humor here? I don't mean humor even as cartoons. I mean, where is the place in art for humor? You know, it's all, and every drawing, because they're wonderful, wonderful artists. And all the drawings they draw of themselves, they're self-portraits, they're very unhappy.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They look like they're on drugs and a god. They never draw a smile. They never draw any positive emotion, because when you're serious about something, you've got to draw a serious thing. You've got to draw an important thing. They all look so, you know, unhappy. The thing that happened to me in music and art was you had to hand in portfolios. Now, I was a kid from Queens. I didn't really know anything about art, but I got in because I drew well enough and everything. And he had an portfolio of original drawings.
Yeah, wow.
But it all had to be done. So it's the last day I haven't done my original drawings.
Yeah, wow.
So I pick open an art book, You know, I find the PA to think like that.
Oh, man.
And I just started copying.
Oh,
these
the
drawings. I draw all this stuff from the art book.
Oh, my
you know,
God.
and they called me in and said, now these are original drawings, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, yeah, that's a riot.
I have a question about the role of humor, less about cartoons, but I get a lot of emails these days from friends on both sides of the political spectrum. And maybe it's I'm getting older, or maybe something has changed, but it seems like humor has gotten so nasty, at least in the eyes of some people, and that it may be a function of perhaps something fundamental that's changing in society, or maybe it's just the fact I have the wrong friends. I got an email over the last 3 months from 8 different people with a picture of Nancy Pelosi's picture in a urinal, and this was supposed to be a joke. And I see it on other sides as well. So I just
This
wanted
guy down here is laughing.
well, he sent it to me. But as professionals who deal with this on a different level than I do, as simply a consumer and someone who looks at this stuff and either laughs or doesn't, I was wondering if you have any thoughts about whether humor and its sort of fundamental nature has gotten caught up in the fundamental nastiness that has sort of taken over public discourse.
Yeah, let me just, I think that kind of stuff was always out there. But now we have the internet, so now we get to see all that stuff. You know, we weren't seeing it when there was just magazines and newspapers. But now we see anything that anybody has been doing for all these years underground that we, not underground, but for each other and putting it up on post-it notes and stuff like that. But now we see it all on the same, computer. So that's why we're seeing that thing. I don't think it's gotten any worse. I think we're just seeing more.
But the other thing is the anonymity of the internet.
Yes.
It's why you have emails in general, why you have flaming on just the comments on the internet track. But in terms of actual nastiness, it was much more nasty in the 17th century. By any standard.
Yeah.
We don't realize how nasty it was because everything got cleaned up for a while, the church and everything, so you could say. But the stuff in England in the 17th century was vicious. And very pointed. So Mike said that's always been there. Also, most of the things, most of the stuff is just dopey. It's dopey, and the easiest way to get a laugh is either through sex or through aggression. Because there's no particular idea about it, and since everybody wants to do that, you just have, something degrading. But so now it's not on bathroom walls; it's, on the internet.
Good. Okay. We got a question here.
I was wondering if you would still do your dry ice act on the planes today.
Yeah. No. This was before 9/11, or else I would have been arrested.
I'm just checking, see if you would do it. Do it now.
No, I wouldn't.
Sounds like a smart move.
All right, we heard the positive. Do you ever regret publishing a certain cartoon, and why?
It's not funny.
Yeah.
I regret that. I've said over and over again, there's much more harm done by respect than disrespect. You know what I mean? People say, as I said before, when does humor go too far? Humor should go too far. Humor actually does not kill people. It's part of free speech. It's part of what we are. It's part of a democracy. You know what I mean? So everybody, so I think you should publish cartoons you regret. I think you should, because that actually shows, or regret, or feel a little sorry about, whatever. It's part of a democracy. It's part of it's part of free. Humor becomes this strange scapegoat for things, Sure. Like if all horrible things are happening, and said, oh, that joke. They shouldn't have told that joke. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The Mohammed stuff is
amazing. All that. As I said, I was on a panel, after this, with all the Muhammad cartoons and everything, and I said right away to the people, because the Muslims, and they were smart people and everything, because it's a weird panel. We're not allowed to show the cartoons. Which is this America or not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why do I have to? So I said, you know what? I'm not touching Muhammad. I'm going right to the top.
That's all right.
Because that's where the problem starts.
That's all right.
Not him.
That's very funny.
You know, it's only well. That's I mean.
That's very funny.
All this crap. I mean, I did a cartoon where there's a lawyer on the phone saying, "Act the God, no problem. We sue God." I mean, all the people who escape. My view on religion is this, and I hope it's blasphemous. If all the arguments between different religions, it's like who has the best imaginary friend.
That's amazing. Yeah, my wife, when this all the stuff came up, and then it came up again when somebody had posted, "Let's all draw Muhammad."
Oh, yeah, I know that.
This 3 or 4 months ago, and it was in response to the guys who do South Park getting death threats because they had done a Muhammad as a yo-yo or something.
Yeah.
And so, oh God, you're gonna do Muhammad because they named it Muhammad. And so and so I said to my wife, I said, I should draw Muhammad, and she said, why? I said, well, because first of all, this is bad, and I want to be part of that. I want to have all these guys mad at me and death threats and stuff. And she says, well, that's okay. She
Yeah, so
said,
how's your insurance?
she said, in the 40 years that you've been a cartoonist, have you ever drawn Muhammad? I said, no. And she said, then why do you want to do it now? I said, well, you get people mad. And she said, that's not the reason. That's not a reason to draw Muhammad. I mean, you can draw Muhammad if you have first of all, there's no picture of Muhammad, really. I mean, until now,
Right.
because there's no picture of Muhammad, so you can't really, I do Jesus, I could do Jesus yesterday, cartoons, and never a bad cartoon about Jesus. I mean, because Jesus is not a bad person, but using Jesus as, he says, give starving people food and heal the sick, and then you have him say that, and then all the teabaggers is like, heal the sick, kill them. It's mandatory.
But I do think that you can challenge what it seems to you illogical, and crazy. Now, a cartoon we did not publish in the New Yorker, and the reason really you don't publish these things is partly the commercial nature. When the New York Times said we're not publishing the cartoons because they're very easy to describe.
Yeah.
And if they were hard to describe, you would publish them. No, they were being cowardly. We're not publishing them because they're really not that funny. And if they were funny, you would publish them. No. Everyone was actually literally frightened. I mean, it was blackmail. That's what's happening here. Blackmail.
Yeah.
We're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Do you want to be killed? And stuff like that. But we got a cartoon from Sam Gross. Actually, that's on my list. That's his cartoon. Last cartoon is so great. And Sam will do anything. And he has a cartoon, and it's Muhammad in heaven, and it's the suicide bomber, and he's all in little pieces. But you can see his head, and Muhammad is saying, we'll get you the versions when we find your penis.
That's great. Is that?
Well, it is great. It's insane. It's insane. People are blowing themselves up, and now they're going to have sex with.
What? Do you have it?
I'll have to find. I'll show it tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, it is.
Is that Sam Gross?
Another
Sam
great
Gross
one.
is about 100 years.
No, he's great. He'll do anything.
He is fabulous. What a fabulous guy.
Another great one that we got, because this exposes the illogical nature of it. It has a suicide bomber, and he's got his vest on, like that. And a guy is down sort of fiddling with it, and he's saying, too snug?
That's great.
Too snug? Well, look, okay, you're going to blow yourself up in 8 hours, but you don't want to be chafed. You don't want to be uncomfortable. That makes a lot of sense.
That's great.
You know what I mean? So I think you do want to attack Muhammad is incidental. It's the philosophy which deserves to be countered. It's counted all the time in prose. It's counted all the time in argument. You're saying we can't actually, and humor is absolutely best for this because it exposes the insanity of what is being, said, what is being claimed.
I was telling Bob, there's a new movie. Have you guys heard about this movie that came through Cannes, and it's called Three Heroes or Three something? I mean, it's a funny movie about it's a funny movie about the Al Qaeda bombers, and they're like the Three Stooges, but they don't really act like the Three Stooges. They really act like Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
But they take all of the stories of them fumbling, and they put it all together in this one story. And people were outraged, but people said it's so funny because it's making fun of something that's taboo to make fun of them. How do you like that? Isn't that interesting? I mean, that's one thing you can't make fun of is that, suicide bombers. But these guys did, and they said it's hilarious.
Well, you can't make fun of it in public. This is, there's public humor, private humor, and secret humor. Everybody is making fun of it, really. As long as but publications are very wary.
Yeah.
And cartoonists themselves. When I was on stage with the people, I was saying what I was saying, but to say I wasn't worried, I was worried.
Yeah.
I was worried there was some crazy person out there who was going to, do something, and so that, I think, this is the world, we live in, and I think one of the ways we actually show our courage is through humor.
Yes, of course.
Rather than just, giving it.
Okay, question? Last question for anybody? Anything? Jay? Yeah. Here you go. Hold it real close.
I remember 2 years ago, Mike did a seminar, and I think the thing that impressed me the most, that I've never forgotten, is how you come up with punchlines, or how you come up with ideas with a circle.
That tomorrow. I'm going to do that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but all of us won't be there tomorrow.
Well, you guys are going to miss
Well,
out. No, you guys can all come. You're all invited. No,
We're going to start tomorrow morning with the
tomorrow.
creative process.
Yeah, you guys
But
exactly
I'll tell you the one thing, Jay, is that you just really pay attention to everything that's going by in the world that most people ignore. And for me, the real key is the difference. Let me just finish this. Yeah. Is the difference between the expression and what you infer. And I'll give you an example. So I'm watching soccer, and really, it's not okay. It's like all foreplay. Okay, it's 1-1, and it goes on forever, and there's all this action, but then in the end, nothing happens. And I'm thinking, how could this game be improved? And I'm thinking, I want more scoring. So I'm thinking, well, okay, remove the goalie. That would be good, right? Okay, but but then the net's too big. So I think you should make the net smaller, real smaller. And then I think you should raise it about 10 feet. And let them use their hands. And what I like about that, you're thinking it. I'm not saying it. That's the difference between the expression of the getting of the joke, and I work that out in my mind so that I build that thing with that original idea.
That's great.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
great.
All right.
2 announcements, and then we're going to ask each of them for just one last funny thought, so that we walk out of the room. Two last announcements. This Sunday from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the Pepke Auditorium is going to be reopened on the official reopening, and they're going to have speakers all day. They're going to have guides to bring you through the building. And I'm telling you, Carol and I saw the building 2 days ago. It's just glorious, and it's going to be a great day. It's open to the public. That's this Sunday from 10 to 4. And then from the 28th of June to the 30th, we're going to have a national security session at the Aspen Institute, and we're going to have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Admiral Mullins, and you're going to have the head of the National Counterterrorism Unit, and it's really going to be a great, great session. So those are the 2 things that are still open, and we'd all love for you to come. Now, let us hear the last funny thoughts from you 2 individuals.
I'll be philosophical. Go on. Life is too serious not to take funnily.
Okay. All right. This one story that Ken always loves, and is one of the, and I'll make it real fast. In high school, I was always a screw up, and I was always in trouble. But I was doing cartoons for my newspaper. I mean, for the school newspaper, and I was, in the worst of the worst classes. So one of the guys, literally, in my sophomore year, was handcuffed to the desk. One of the kids, and I was being brought back to be given this honor at my high school.
Well, first of all, you were in this certain
Okay,
row.
Okay,
tell,
fine,
tell where the row is.
fine. So I we were in this library class, and we were in the library class all the way through the 4 years. I went to an all-boys military Catholic high school. All-boys military Catholic high school. It was a Christian school for the criminally insane. And, I mean, we literally had these scapulas that Catholics wear, and we had a picture of Jesus on one side and then George Patton on the other. So it was this weird love-hate thing. And so...
It was called
Our
Lady of Armageddon, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Something
Our
like that.
Lady of Armageddon. And so I was in this one class, and they put the class. Can you pour me a glass of water from that one thing? Thank you. And so I was in this one class, and it was English class, and oh, thank you very much. And the teacher, none of the teachers liked me because all I did was just draw cartoons. I would sit and draw a tank in the back row and hand it over to this guy named Ron Unesh, and he would draw an airplane coming down and shooting the tank, and then I would draw a guy with a bazooka, blowing up the airplane, while this guy is teaching Othello or something like that, and we're just kind of in our own world. The guy put us in the last row of his class, and that row was called his vegetable garden. And that's where the guy who was handcuffed to one of the things was in that row, and so he said, I put you 8 in the last row in my vegetable garden because if you get nothing else out of this class, you'll get sunlight. It was near the windows. And maybe through the process of photosynthesis, you'll grow and flourish and stuff, Well, I was getting this award from the school that I was always in trouble for drawing these cartoons. And so I went back to my house and I was looking, I got my mom's house back in St. Louis, and I got one of my yearbooks, and I was looking at my yearbook and reading the things that people said and stuff, and it's really amazing, and it's cute because it really is. If you haven't done it for a long time, you ought to do it because it really is a snapshot of that day and the way people think about you. Mine was a military school, so they would say, you ought to iron your blouse, your pants and stuff. It was an odd kind of school. Rosa red, visor blue, you suck and stuff like that. So I got to this one picture, and it was Mr. Morgan, the guy who had me in that vegetable garden, and I must have said to him, Mr. Morgan, I had stuttered and cross-eyed, and it was sad, and I said, Mr. Morgan, could you sign my yearbook? And so he signed it and gave it to me, and it said, and I'm reading it for the first time after 20 years, and I'm about to go get this award at my school. And it said, Dear Mr. Peters, it was military school, so we were Mr. and stuff. Dear Mr. Peters, you had better start growing up real soon. Because remember, you can't always draw cartoons.
Let's hear it.